I feel like eventually we need to all get together and do a Peacemaker style opening for the Splice stream.
I don't know what that means.
Yeah, same.
Look up a Peacemaker intro and watch.
Oh, is that the John Cena show?
Yes.
We should do a Firefly intro.
I'll be honest. I saw the trailers for that, and I'm like, out. Not interested at all.
I'm not saying that. I'm not
Volume
saying
check.
I'm not saying the show is for you. Like I don't watch the show, and I'm like, sorry, I'm also doing the volume check. But like the intro seems very spliced.
How very Splice?
Well, I also imagine that Splice's entire life is narrated by Swedish hair metal. Also, everyone sounds good so far. Lunisar, can you say something?
Something.
Probably a full sentence.
Quiet, but it might have been a little quiet, but I don't know. Is it loud enough?
I think we all sound great.
Okay, that's there.
Like maybe like a fifth tier metal band like Wisconsin.
So tomorrow was a very interesting basketball game.
Oh?
BYU plays the University of Alabama.
Oh, I forgot to bring up that, yeah, you have a chance to be very excited or depressed.
It's just a weird thing because Alabama is my rival school, but they're playing my other school. Because I've been an Auburn fan my whole life, and
rival school by proxy.
And so it's just sort of a. I mean,
Baggins, are you from down here?
I grew up in Alabama.
I did not know that about you.
I could have sworn we've talked about this.
It's also been like a crazy week. Like I told Splice a little bit about like what the end of my week last week was, and I'm still kind of recovering from it.
Well, we are live now,
I'm a little
so
absent-minded. No, I'm not like.
Okay, cool. Just making sure.
No, it's just like distressing times. But like I don't remember that, but that's not to say that you haven't said it. That's more to say that just I'm absent-minded.
It didn't make it to permanent memory.
Yeah, I grew up in Birmingham.
Oh. I used to drive through Birmingham going back and forth from my grandparents' house to my mom's house. Because they lived in Decatur.
Okay.
So like from New Orleans to Decatur, you go straight through Birmingham.
Really?
Yeah, it's like an 8-hour drive.
I feel like that's a roundabout route, wouldn't it be?
No, it's about the most direct route you can get. Like it feels like it's a roundabout, but also remember I was doing this before, like GPS was a thing. Like it was all off of the Rand McNally's.
That is an amazing way to test someone's age, figure out if they even know what you're talking about.
I was thinking Destin. I was like, what the?
No.
Right.
All I know is when you say Rand McNally, it just makes me think of the Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs. Say, we lived in the small island beneath the A in Atlantic.
All right. Well, it is now go time. Let us do this.
You know something.
Back when I played WoW during the Warlords of Draenor expansion, which was a bit of a dark time if I'm honest, there was a dungeon called the Everbloom. And in the Everbloom, they had, I think, 5 bosses, but one of them was optional. It was kind of out of the way. The loot wasn't very good, and so almost no one ever did it. Name was Zeratek, and it was like a spider boss or something. It was, I don't know, it didn't really fit the aesthetic. It was kind of weird. Did it once, never did it again. But one time I'm doing a run, and our healer says, "Hey, I've never done the optional boss. Can we go do it?" Which my first instinct was, it's not really that good, and it's not that interesting. But our tank said, "Yeah, sure." I was just like, oh, okay, fine. You know, I didn't care that much. Our mage cared. Our mage cared a lot. And our mage is like, no, we don't need it. It's not doing it. And that's when our tank, whose name I don't remember, but his words I do, he responded with a simple, "This is happening." We then marched to that spider boss. We beat the crap out of it. It took a lot longer. The mage decided to not do damage the rest of the dungeon and just pout. The mage was so bad we did this optional boss that didn't give very good loot. And we all just started having fun, mostly because the mage was not having fun. And I don't know what that says, but sometimes optional bosses can create interesting social interactions. This is episode 52 of I Think We Overleveled. We're talking about our favorite or least favorite or whatever. We're just talking optional bosses.
I
And
don't know why, but your story there reminds me of, and this has nothing to do with the topic, so I'll get off
Yeah.
it as quick as I can. But it just reminds me of me and my friends, and I'm pretty sure I've told this story before. All of us playing Rock Band, and the one person who played flute in the band, who was our friend, like saying like, "Oh no, I can play a real instrument," and then getting aggravated that we were having fun. It's like, "Stop having fun without me," and then just left.
Jeez Louise, that's like exactly the XKCD comic.
I mean,
The stop having fun guys.
we nicknamed that guy the enemy of fun.
I'm just wondering when the flute peripheral for Rock Band's going to come out.
Flute Peripheral would be a great cover band name, but no, I don't. Just his word. This is happening. Like that's all he said. Just matter of factly, this is happening.
So to move backwards before we move on to this to another thing, because I know this was the intro, but I do have a couple of questions here. You say it was a dark time for you or for WoW?
For WoW.
Okay, you were fine.
Yeah, I was fine. Yeah, no, it was an expansion that
Like
didn't go well at the start, and they clearly kind of abandoned it halfway through because they're like, guys, they're just not liking it. This isn't working. Let's just put our effort into the next one, and clearly cut content.
Gotcha. Also,
Did you say this was
low?
Did you say this was Warlords of Draenor?
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah. Apparently, I'm a little low. Question number 2. I was unaware that there were optional bosses in MMOs. Like, and when I played City of Heroes, like, I mean, like, I guess technically they're all optional bosses. It's an MMO. You don't have to actually do any of them if you don't want to. But like, if you
FF14 is an exception to that.
Was it? What are they called? Like, are the optional bosses or the ones that are called like raid or dungeon bosses? Right?
yeah, like I'm just asking for a little clarification as to
It depends
as to what
upon
made it optional.
It depends upon the MMO, but basically to consider the dungeon complete, like from the, just for lack of a better term, quest dialogue, it's you had to beat the 4 main bosses, and then there was this one boss to the side if you wanted to. It was a weird decision. It's not very common, but they do exist.
Well, because like that, the story just made me think of Guild Wars, because Guild Wars is one that like there's the main storyline and there are bosses there, but then there are the dungeons that you can raid that are completely optional, don't affect the story, and they're just for bragging rights. In fact, there's one in particular that's on my mind. If you mind me starting.
Yeah,
to
no,
play
go
that one.
right, but like that's what made this one so weird. This wasn't a hard mode boss. This wasn't like a bragging rights boss. It's just to the side. It's just a normal boss fight with normal loot, and so it's bizarre.
It's a boss that you don't have to get through to get to the final boss.
It does make you wonder why they bothered making it at all, but whatever.
So in Guild Wars, there's one of these optional bonus mega raid bosses that requires a specific party, and it requires a specific build to even get there. It's called Urgo's Warren. And what I find interesting about the story of Urgo's Warren is it showed how, well, you remember Dane, right? Hobo Dane, whatever,
Yep.
that group of friends, because we played Guild Wars. They got me into Guild Wars. They were pushing for me to play Necromancer, and they were pushing me hard to play Necromancer. And they just thought,
you have the bad friends who are trying to force you to make you smoke Mary Jane and play Necromancer.
Because the thing is, at first I'm like, oh, I'd like to be a mage. I'll try the Elementalist. Like, oh, we already have one in our party, but what we could use is a Necromancer, which they pushed me into it, which ended up being cool because I kind of like the whole getting a bunch of minions that are meat shields and around me. I actually ended up enjoying the playstyle of the Necromancer. But then once I actually had finally beaten the game, and they're like, oh, hey, we want you to be on this raid with us to try and fight Urgo's Warren. I'm like, okay. Oh, make sure you bring this skill. And I'm like, wait, why would I bring that skill? It's kind of a weird esoteric skill to teleport there. Well, that skill's required to get through this dungeon in Urgo's Warren, because there's a place that you physically can't get to the final boss unless you have a Necromancer with this skill to teleport across a gap onto a corpse, and then have them trigger something which allows the rest of the party to come join them. I'm like, wait a minute. This is the reason you guys wanted me to be a Necromancer, isn't it? And they're like, yeah, this was the entire reason. It's like,
yep.
Gosh dang you guys.
Welcome to Social Engineering 101.
Exactly. So, Urgo's Warren, we tried it. We failed because, well, I mean, these super bosses are not easy. But this one holds a special place in my memory, as they pressured me to play the class I played as for the sole purpose of taking it on.
Yeah, that's the thing. Most of these optional bosses are going to fall into the category of super boss in most cases. My first example is kind of a weird one, just because, well, if they're not a super boss, or if they don't give like some unique lore, why do it in the first place, right?
Right.
Another one that is actually, it's not required, and I wouldn't even call it a super boss. It is a harder boss, but it actually serves a purpose. In Hades, if you steal from Charon, i.e., the boatman, he'll drag you down into his subworld, and he'll punish you for having stolen money from him. And
it's not an easy fight.
No, it's a rough boss fight. Yeah, I've beaten it. And when you beat it, he then, as sort of a I surrender, he'll give you a you then get like a permanent discount on all your purchases in the store.
Yeah, so it's totally worth it.
But it can also just end your run, because I mean, look at the size of those swings. That is a big stinking area he covers. And then as you get his health down, he'll start destroying some of your cover like that.
Mm-hmm. I mean, this game is all about just breaking you.
Oh yeah. Well, and then there's, definitely a topic for another day, but hard mode bosses. But no, this is, I don't know. I loved this boss fight because it also has its own music for it. And the first time I saw, because the thing was, I didn't know that. I just saw that it's like loot with a question mark, because I saw some stuff in the corner that I'd never seen before. And it's like, wait, I can do this? And I pick it up, and then Charon like growls at you and you get sucked down here. And it's like, oh no, I didn't know what I was agreeing to.
Oh, like I didn't know.
I didn't mean to challenge the Reaper.
Yeah.
I didn't know you could actually beat him, because quite frankly, I've accidentally made that mistake once. I'm like, no, this was not the intended result here. I was not trying to steal from the boatman. Please.
Don't fear the Reaper, guys.
Yep, you can beat him. And if you can beat him, that could be really good for the rest of your run.
Right.
I'm trying to think, does does the I'm trying to remember, does that apply for like future runs, or is that just
No,
20%
just like
one
everything
run?
else, just that run.
Just that run. Yeah.
So yeah, it could be
Yeah, but
really
if you're
good for
not-
the rest of your run, or it could just completely ruin it.
Yep.
And that's what's so
See, that's
great
what it did.
about it's because you're sitting here, you're like, man, I have a pretty good build right now. I think I can take him on. And then it's like, well, no, you had a really good build, but you wasted a bunch of your respawns trying to fight him, and now you have no more spare lives, and you probably cursed your run. And you're just like, dang it.
Yeah, clearly you're a fool. You had no idea what you were getting into.
Well, and if you die to him, everyone basically just absolutely just makes fun of you for it. They're
That
just like,
part I remember.
like, you decided to take on Charon? Surely this must
No,
be
I got-
wrong.
I
Like,
got
I'm
that.
Zagreus. I take on everyone. I don't know if you've noticed this by now.
But yeah. Anyway, you were saying?
No, I got absolutely wrecked by him, and I
Oh, yeah.
remember like, oh, you decided to take on Karen. Like, not by choice. I didn't realize that's what I was agreeing to.
I didn't think I was putting my hand in a hornet's nest.
Yeah, you
Exactly.
Never try to take on a Karen.
Hey.
Nice.
Waka
But-
waka.
But yeah, so that's all I really have in terms of like, they're not meant to be like super bosses or something. I think everything else on this list is super bosses of some kind or another.
Well,
I
Like
kind
you
of took a
said-
different approach, so I'm not sure that's entirely true. But
I mean,
go
but-
ahead, Beckons.
like you said, if there's no major reward for it, why would you do it? And if there's going to be a major reward, they want to make it challenging and satisfying.
Yeah. And so it's like you either need some sort of like story reason to do it, or it's going to be a hard mode.
And then there are times where like the reward's like super worth it, and then there are times where the reward is like,
Nothing.
Why is this the reward? Like, ah.
It's the golden poop reward.
Yeah, the golden poop reward. And for me, when I think about it, it's like, think of an example of each. I immediately think of Final Fantasy VII, because it's got one of each.
Because that's how you get Knights of the Round, isn't it?
Yes, but like, so the Emerald weapon is one of the two super bosses of this game, and his reward is awesome. He gives you something that gives you a master materia of each type, which is phenomenal. You know, I don't know if so in Final Fantasy VII there are materia, which gives you a spell or a summon or an ability, and the master materia there's the spell master materia, summon master materia, and it gives you all of them. And so the reward for defeating the Emerald weapon is totally worth it. But the Ruby weapon, which is much, much more difficult than the Emerald weapon to kill, that one gives you gives you a desert rose, which you could trade to get a gold chocobo. Which, gold chocobo is cool and all.
Chocobo's
but,
the one that can run across water, right?
Yeah, it could run across the ocean, and it's required to get the Knights of the Round materia. But the thing is you can get a gold chocobo on your own by doing the chocobo racing, which most people, to kill the ruby weapon and the emerald weapon for that matter, has already gotten a gold chocobo through chocobo racing to use Knights of the Round to kill them with. So having a reward that's just, in case you don't have Knights of the Round yet, now you can go get it instead of doing chocobo racing. And it's like, but I already have it, so the reward's worthless. I already have a gold chocobo. I don't need a new gold chocobo. So, whereas the emerald weapon gives you an amazing reward.
The second gold chocobo, so you can ride like Van Damme, doing the splits
Yeah.
across the water.
Yeah, exactly. So it's completely annoying. Whereas, like in the emerald weapon, getting a master materia, having a master summon also gives you Knights of the Round, but at least it's a second copy of Knights of the Round and not just the one that you could have gotten anyway. So, yeah, it's both one of the best rewards and one of the worst rewards in one game. And I like this little video I found of having the two weapons fight each other.
Not lore accurate.
Not lore accurate at all, but
no, the weapons are kind of like trope namers for this kind of thing.
Oh yeah,
they're just famous for it. But I mean, Final Fantasy's been doing optional bosses forever, and it feels like every single entry will have its big one. I mean,
it's usually Omega Weapon, and I feel like was 5 the first one with Omega Weapon, or was there one even before that? I can't remember.
I don't know, but I was thinking about just with Final Fantasy. I mean, like in FF4, you have the summons that you can get. So, you go to fight Leviathan and Queen Asura, and so you have all these different boss fights, and then of course, and each of them is a boss fight to get you an awesome summon.
Oh yeah,
these are very very powerful
worth it.
abilities. Because Leviathan, he gives you a super powerful water attack, that wave thing he just did. Asura is an amazing heal, but it's also kind of random because who knows what's going to happen with her. And then, of course,
the spell effects look nice in this version.
In the Pixel Remaster?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, of course, and this is the original version, the King of Summons.
Bahamut. Honestly, I personally view Leviathan as almost mandatory because he's like the best thing to deal with the what was it called? The evil wall that comes forward and will kill you.
The demon wall.
The demon wall?
I think it's demon wall.
I mean, technically it's not required, but that's by far the easiest way to deal with them.
It is demon wall, and I only know this because of that one video I edited.
Well, and then Bahamut is he's just crazy powerful, and you basically just sort of spam him in the final boss fight.
In the Pixel Remaster, is the trick they're using right now in this video? Please tell me it still works in the Pixel Remaster.
I can't remember if it does or if they did a weird thing.
Because
what trick are they doing?
Oh my gosh!
It's not really a trick. It's really the only way to beat him.
It's the lore of the game. Like
it's the required.
There's a library in the game that tells you to, gives you the hint, cast Reflect on yourself, so his super attack hits himself instead of hitting you.
Well, but I would hope so then.
In the DS remake, the lore's still there, but by the way, they removed Reflect working on his super attack.
Yeah.
Which
that's bizarre.
Well, he even taunts you when you do it.
It irked me to no end. Oh goodness, that DS remake ticked me off so bad. Goodness.
Man, that's bad. That's really bad, actually.
Yeah. It's kind of, I don't know. It's like it's annoyed when there's a remake that's made to purposely mock the original and the players and fans of the original. I don't know. I have a problem.
It's in poor taste. It's in poor taste. Like when the porters are clearly just don't like the target audience. Not naming any names, but Zack Snyder, I'm talking about you.
But man, Leviathan, Ashura, and Bahamut are like some of the best summons in the game.
They're incredible.
Oh, and so worth going out of your way to deal with them, to fight them and gain them. Because it's funny. I don't even think of Ashura and Leviathan as optional, but you're right, they are.
Mm-hmm. Well, and Odin as well.
Oh yeah.
But
a lot of things in Final Fantasy are.
Oh man, Odin's also optional.
Yeah, I believe. Because you don't actually have to go get him.
It's funny that there are some of these optional bosses that's like, to me, it's such an important part of the game that
because you always do it. But then you were saying like Final Fantasy's all loaded with optional bosses, but then there's another example. where Final Fantasy shows up in another game.
Ah, yes.
Oh, we're gonna go to this one, huh?
This I
Yeah.
think is my first optional boss, and I didn't understand what was happening. So when he just smoked me, I didn't understand. I'm like, did I not do this right?
See, I was a Final Fantasy fan already when I played this.
Oh,
And so when it
dude.
starts playing the Final Fantasy,
Dude,
fight music, I'm just like, wait,
chills.
what's going on right now?
I know
And
when
then they just wiped the floor with me.
it's like that Final Fantasy IV boss music cuts in, and like, oh my goodness, man, young me and probably young Baggins, like the music, were just like, oh, yeah.
You're frothing
I
at
just
the
remember
mouth like
being
that one
confused.
character.
I was like, wait, what's happening? What's going on? Why? What?
Of course, for me, I'm just like, I don't remember this boss at all in a Final Fantasy game.
Yeah, I was like, okay, which Final Fantasy is this from? And it's not, but it's
Not.
it's very much a Final Fantasy boss still.
It's
Yeah.
just meant to be evocative.
Well, I mean, it's got the crystals, so there's that.
And the music.
Yeah, the crystals and the music. But yeah, it's its own thing. But no, it was a fun boss. I definitely enjoyed fighting it.
A brutal boss. No, the other thing that just about like, because I kind of stumbled into this. Like, I didn't know that this was gonna be a thing. It just,
Right.
was there.
Well, it's a locked door in a town, and you're like, what is this? And then you find a key, and you're like, ooh, I'll go open the locked door. What is happening right now?
Well, and I couldn't.
So many things are happening.
Yeah, and I just couldn't figure out, because again, the idea of an optional boss was just something I had never encountered before, so it blew my mind. Plus, there's just the simple fact that he's 2D.
I'm trying to remember, is there a reward for beating him? I can't remember.
I think it's just I think he's a pure bragging rights boss. I could be wrong, but I swear
I'm
he's just
looking
a
it up.
bragging rights boss. Because the thing is,
you get the quartz charm, but its purpose or effect. What? Let's see.
Oh yeah, quartz to be a crystal. I like it.
but it's because the thing is, if he gave you anything, what's the point?
Well, that is kind of the big drawback of a lot of these optional bosses that are super bosses is, you're like, yeah, I got the reward for beating him. And it's like, and I don't have anything else to use the reward on because it was kind of was
Man.
just it. That.
Yeah, and like it's just it's the bragging rights. That's what you're here for.
I mean, yeah, the bragging rights, and then there are some where like there's one in particular. It's actually also from Final Fantasy, but the Omega weapon from Final Fantasy VIII. That one, it takes so much resources to kill this thing. Even though I think this guy might have done it without the resources, but like, this is one that just wrecked me over and over and over.
Oh gosh.
To the point that once I finally killed it, I just like there's nothing else I want to do in the game, so I don't even care.
Did he just base attack for 2,500 damage?
Yeah.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah, this thing is wicked brutal, and the only way I could kill it was if I did the card game side quests to get the some of the unique cards of the characters, and there's some that you get the unique card, but then you have to sacrifice the card to turn it into an item, where you get an item that's the most powerful item in the game, which is I'm trying to remember what the item's called. I want to say it's like Holy War or something, but it makes your entire party invulnerable for like 60 seconds, and you get like 3 of them. I couldn't defeat this boss without doing that, without sacrificing the ultimate triple triad card to get the the holy war item to use to just be invulnerable long enough to take out this stupid thing.
A triple triad is an optional boss in itself.
Yeah. Well, and the big thing is, it's like, great, I had to sacrifice my best card to get this item. And so it's like, I don't even have my best card anymore. So it's like, I don't even want to save, Like, it took so much resources that even if there was a reward, I don't think I'd want the reward over what it took to actually be able to beat it. It was purely for the bragging rights, even though I don't think I actually... I don't know. Maybe I bragged to some of my high school friends. I don't know, but
It's the internal bragging rights.
yeah, exactly. But did you see that? Boom! It just everyone's down to 1 health now. So it's just Oh, this boss was so brutal, so brutal.
Well, speaking of brutal optional bosses, while we're in the fantasy trope, let me go ahead and steer this in another direction, because I remember a fantasy boss that absolutely floored me. And I'm talking about Flemeth from the original Dragon Age Origins. Now, first of all, have you guys played Dragon Age Origins?
No.
I have it, but it's on my backlog.
I did not get very far. I don't know. I couldn't get into it. I don't know. Combat just didn't mesh with me. Some people said that maybe if I chose a mage class instead of a fighter class, I would have liked combat more, but I don't know.
No, I mean, totally fair. But I mean, Flemeth is somebody you meet fairly early on, and you are introduced to her daughter, Morrigan, who was voiced by Claudia Black, who, for those of you who are paying attention,
Love
game.
Claudia Black.
Yep, Claudia Black, who was Aaron's son from
I also just I did not like Morrigan as a character.
That's totally fair. She progresses throughout the entire series.
So I'm sorry, who's Claudia Black?
She plays from Farscape.
She also plays Chloe Fraser in what's it called? Uncharted.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay.
And she's in Stargate and
she's all over the sci-fi area. Flemeth is actually also voiced by the legendary Kate Mulgrew, Captain herself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So some gravitas there. And she says, hey, my daughter needs to go out to the world, and she needs to learn stuff and just not hang out here from me. Otherwise, she's never going to grow as a mage. And, Morgan's like, I don't like you. I'm better than you. And, the typical, reluctant, whatever it is before. You go out and you go through the entire game. And, there's, this optional quest you get, which is basically, some things that Flemeth has asked you to do. And there's this little side quest between Flemeth and Morgan. Well, you get back to Flemeth. Turns out that she's a freaking shape-shifting dragon. It's just like, oh, well, you've come back to do away with me. Well, that's going to be tough for you. And then what you're seeing on the screen here just happens. Just caught way off guard. I thought I was just coming back to just oh, let me go turn in this quest while in this area. Let me just go see what's going. Wait a minute. Why am I fighting a dragon? Nobody's at full health. Oh, no. Oh, no. Oh, no.
And it's optional, and is it a super boss or just an optional boss?
Oh, she's an absolute super boss, and you encounter her quite frequently throughout the series. She is she is a frequent one, but you don't really get a hint of. I mean, I guess I should have old woman in a bog. I should have gotten the Baba Yaga vibes right off the bat. Being
how is she surviving out here?
Yeah, I didn't think anything about it. I thought that this is just oh, she's simply here to, she's simply here to give me this character, and then we're going to return, and we're going to get some kind of big thing. No, it turns out she wanted Morgan to get more powerful so that she could put her life essence into Morgan and be her host, which
rude.
Might be why Morgan's a little surly, because that was the mother-daughter relationship she had with Flemeth.
So that's why she's a psycho. Okay, good to know.
Yeah, totally. It all makes sense completely. So you don't it's a side quest. You don't have to do this, but you absolutely can. And if you do, go in, get wrecked. Is there some squeaking going on?
I'm not hearing.
Yeah, it might just be.
Wait, is that Mithril?
It was a mithril
Possibly.
entering.
Boom. Yep.
How's it going?
Going all right. Just only had about an hour worth of prog on this. I guess we'll talk about optional boss.
Hey! See, it's topical.
Mm-hmm.
What were you doing?
Well,
So,
I'll let you guys get to it. Sorry, I need to fix my audio.
sorry, I was like, I hope I didn't interrupt anyone else going on.
No, you got me right at the end, so perfect timing.
Fair enough, fair enough. Well, you started talking about MMOs at the very beginning, and then you
Mhm.
went into Final Fantasy. So let's, combine the two together. Final Fantasy 14, pretty much all of the, I guess you'd call it hard end game content is all technically optional bosses. So you have things like the way they handle it is
Are they
basically
like dungeon raids, or are they different things?
So the way they handle it is that you have the main story quest, which you go through dungeons and they call them trials, which is like, boss fights. And then you unlock expert versions of trials, you unlock raids, and then you unlock savage versions of raids. Pretty much all of which are not required for the main story. And they're higher level advanced versions with more advanced mechanics that you play for challenge, for loot, better equipment for the time that it's in, and then for bragging rights where it's like, ooh, you might get like a shiny mount or something. Depends on what piece of content it is.
Now, okay,
So it's
let me quick point of
ask
clarification.
your questions.
When you say it's optional, do you mean in the sense that you're not required to do it, or do you mean like it's not tied to the main storyline?
Both.
Okay.
Like,
Because like you said in our chat, all bosses are optional if you don't care about it.
yeah, all bosses are optional if you don't care about finishing the game. But in terms of this, you'll have like through what we would call the main story progression of like going through. I don't have anything for the watch party, by the way, but you'll be going through and you'll do these dungeons, you'll do trials, but you generally won't do raids as part of the main story. Those are always kind of like cordoned off side content. And then even though you'll do the trials, like for instance, going through Realm Reborn, you'll fight Ifrit, Garuda, Titan, Ramu, Leviathan. But then you have extreme versions of these trials that you won't fight in the main story. You have to kind of go out of your way to gather a group and do them optional content. But then you fight the extreme version and they have a lot harder mechanics. They hit a lot harder, but then they can drop like for those ones like a shiny like elemental horse mount.
Who doesn't want an elemental horse?
Yeah, exactly. And if you collect all of them, then you can get a shiny gold horse.
Ooh.
And then you go to Heaven's Word and you fight the bosses there, and they all drop birds, and then you get a phoenix if you get all of them, and stuff like that. Actually, it's not technically a phoenix, but it's basically a phoenix. Fun stuff. Optional fights, and this is where people say because it's an MMO, the true end game is, because
Yeah.
you gotta have something for people to keep coming back and doing week in and week out while you are developing more content. So you finish the story, and then for the next maybe couple months, you're slowly progressing on these very difficult bosses. Or you're a Twitch streamer, you finish it all in 1 week, and then you complain, oh, there's nothing to do in this game. But I'll leave that argument for another time.
It's like, yeah, some games they just want to make an endless stream of optional bosses, especially MMOs, right, with their raids and all their optional bosses.
Yeah.
But there even are some single player games that kind of give an endless stream of optional bosses at the end. Figured since you were talking about Final Fantasy 16, I'll put the most advanced graphics Final Fantasy that we already have on here in this list, but I put in here because like the monster arena in FF10 does make me wonder, since I feel like Splice is, 10's one of the few games he's done things in.
Yeah,
FF10
I don't know
than
what
I
you're
have.
talking about. The monster arena. I don't.
Okay, so you never did that. So you did the dodging the lightning 256 times in a row.
Yeah.
But I never achieved that. But I did spend some time in Monster Arena before I realized this is an endless stream of optional bosses that it's too much. It is just too much. So in the Monster Arena, do you remember there was a point where you could start capturing monsters?
Nope.
So you could go through once you get to the end of the game, you could go back at some point, most of the way through the game, you could go back to earlier areas and start doing a capture skill on all the monsters. And if you capture like all the monsters in an area or all this, you give them to this guy at the Monster Arena who starts breeding monsters, and he breeds a ton of them. And for some reason, when he breeds a monster, they're like way, way stronger than the final boss of the game by like orders of magnitude. To which I'm like, it breaks the lore that there's someone who could breed monsters and control them that's, far stronger than everything else in existence in the entire universe of this game. But, it's there for in-game content. And to be able to defeat these monsters, it's not enough to level up your characters all the way, because, your levels are the sphere grid, right?
Yeah.
It's not just enough. Say you've completely filled out the sphere grid with everyone in the party. You're not strong enough to defeat these super bosses. The rewards for these super bosses is it gives you sphere icons, like it gives you like items that you use to replace spheres on the sphere grid. So
interesting.
Like, for example, like there are some sphere grids that are like, oh, plus 50 HP, and others are like plus 200 HP, right? So there's a null sphere that these super bosses drop that you can use to destroy a sphere on the sphere grid, like the plus 50 HP, and then you can replace it with another one that it drops that's like, say, a plus 200 HP. So you can replace all the bad level up spheres with better ones that you get as drops from fighting these.
Interesting.
And so you have to not just complete the sphere grid, but rewrite the sphere grid to finally be able to be strong enough to take on everything in this monster arena. It is an insane amount of optional boss fights and a lot of min-maxing work to do. It's Disgaea level amount of min-maxing to defeat all these things.
Gotcha. Yeah, the only thing I was fairly certain that was an optional boss, and I was proven right later, but I wasn't sure about it, was getting Anima. Just because when I saw Seymour summon him, I'm just like, man, that thing is too edgy and cool looking for this to not be something that I can try and get. And then found out that, yeah, this is a thing.
Yep. Well, there was also the three Magus sisters as well as an optional.
Yeah, I don't know
ion
what that
you could
is.
get. Well, the three Magus sisters is actually a reference to one of the bosses in Final Fantasy IV from the Tower of Zot. So it was.
Do you kneel before Zot?
One of the bosses that drove me crazy in
Boo.
FF4.
Boo.
Yeah.
Boo this man.
Nah, cheer this man.
No, boo this
But
man.
yeah, Anima and the three sister ions. Yeah, those are good. Yeah, man. Yeah, FF10 had a ton of optional bosses. My goodness. But man, if you did them all, like getting all the extra ions, including this one, and redoing the sphere grid, like the amount of insane power that you can get. Like that is one thing that is very unique about FF10 was the whole like up until this point you're used to, the max HP being, 9,999 and the max damage you can do is also quad 9. And that was the case for a while, but then you have those or were they called limit breaks, or what they call it? But the weapons, they give you the ability to do 10 times more damage, like it increased the maximum by 10. And you're like, oh my goodness, I can do
Over
not
9,000.
just 10,000, I can do 100,000 damage. This is amazing. So yeah.
I have no clue what you're talking about. I feel like you guys played a different Final Fantasy X than I did.
Well, I never was able to unlock Lulu's because that required dodging the lightning 256 times in a row. So she was the one person I couldn't break the damage.
See,
limit
that was
on.
the one thing that I don't know how I found out about dodging the lightning, but it was the one thing that I was like, someone mentioned it, or maybe I read it, or maybe it was hinted at in the game. I don't know. And I'm like, I could dodge lightning. And so I just started doing it to prove to myself that I could indeed dodge lightning.
Man, I need to get you to do it for me on my save file or something. Man.
No, that was Teenager Splice. Teenager Splice could do stuff. I'm now Old Man Splice.
You're right. I should make my teenager do it.
Darn
for me.
straight. That's what children
Yes,
are for.
that's-
Labor.
Yeah, that's why you have. That's why you have kids, isn't it? Not having any kids of my own, I can only assume.
Same. I was reliably told that children are for labor.
But now,
only
we're
if I
talking
had
a lot-
only if I had a mine in my backyard. Gosh dang it.
well, talking a lot about like all of these optional bosses. A lot of games lately, especially like big sandbox RPGs, there's a lot of optional bosses. Like take one game which I am very like connected to intrinsically, Baldur's Gate 3. I actually went through before the podcast here and I counted how many things that were listed as bosses were not a part of the main story quest, therefore you did not
Ooh.
actually have to kill them.
Are you gonna make
And
us play The Price is Right on that?
I'm not, because like
I already
think,
saw your post in
it-
Discord.
Yeah, it was something like
Oh.
32 of them are optional. Like
Oh,
you don't
man,
actually have to
jeez.
fight them. And by fight, I mean you can talk your way out of it. You can just walk straight past them. You don't actually have to. You don't even have. In some of them, you don't even have to go in their area if you don't want. You don't even have to go over there. Like some of them, you just trip across, like the gazer or spectator or whatever, which is basically a mini beholder. Like if you're not in the Underdark and don't happen to take the wrong left right when you get out of one area, you'd never see it. But there is one optional boss, however, because he's forthright throughout the entire game, in which it does deserve a very special shout out. One, because he is not a very nice person throughout the entirety of it. He comes up front
Excellent
and he's
self-censor there.
yeah, we're showing a splice string. We might be after dark, but Kami loves the kids. Anyway, but like from the beginning, it's like, nope, I'm a devil. I'm trying to get something out of you, and that's what's happening here. This is a classic devil's deal, and he's just after your soul throughout the entirety of it, which culminates in you going to his realm, or a realm he's taken over called the House of Hope. And I'm speaking of Raphael, which gets a shout out for a few reasons. One, he's a very tough boss. You can influence a couple of things in the beginning, depending on some things that you've done in the past throughout the entirety of his quest. But he also has one of the best bad guy songs, which I don't have it on here because obviously we're not trying to get copyright struck. But go look up Raphael House of Hope boss fight song, and like it's very operatic and very adventurous and stuff. But he gets lines, and so as you're fighting this guy, he is singing that he is going to be getting you. He's after you. and it's just it's a very epic fight. You know, I mean, like I could like we could do just
Wait,
an
wait.
entire episode on all of the bosses of all of the optional bosses of Baldur's Gate 3.
Wait, just make sure I understand. So the voice actor who voices the character is singing the background music of the
Yes.
song, and
Yes.
do they
In
animate
character.
the guy's lips?
No,
during it?
like it's a
But it is clearly the voice actor singing it.
oh
That's
yes,
pretty cool.
absolutely,
That's
100%.
cool though.
And like the only
I'm getting Frollo from Hunchback of Notre Dame vibes.
Okay, yeah.
something like that. Like he was like it's.
I mean,
very,
yeah,
like-
he's a devil, so hellfire is definitely involved.
Yeah, exactly. Like you're literally in one of the hells, or a realm in which he had corrupted by the hells.
Well, that
The-
song's now in my head. Thanks, Splice.
You're welcome.
The option, the honorable mention for this, by the way, because it was a toss up whether I was going to do this one or I was going to do the elf that was trapped in the armor of gold that demands all of your gold, and is the entire thing is grotesque. And if you talk your way out of that fight, basically what happens is that you convince her that there's never going to be enough money, that she's never going to be that she's never going to be worthy enough for whatever her master deems. She cries and vomits 5,000 gold onto the floor and dies.
Wow, that is grotesque.
Yeah. Baldur's Gate is something.
Welcome
Not
to
somebody-
D&D.
It's not the Baldur's Gate I remember as a kid. I can tell you that.
Well, I don't think they. I don't think they had like the people over in. I forget the
Larian.
name of the studio, but I mean,
Larian?
like they're.
No, it was
Larian.
not Larian. It was
Larian or Black
Yeah,
Isle?
no, it was Larian is the studio that did 3. I don't know who did
Yeah.
did the original. But
Black
Larian,
Isle, yeah.
like they know what they're doing. It's good stuff. It's very good stuff. But yeah, like, you know, and again, it's an optional boss. Like you can totally just tell him, it's like, yeah, you can have the thing that you want in the end. Just give me what I need right now, and don't even have to go there. Don't even have to go to his realm. You can just deal. But if you actually go through and you attack him, and it's a fairly, you know, it's not just go slammy as you're seeing right here. You have to do some like around the perimeter stuff to bring him to a point where you can actually fight him in a fair fight. But it is something. And yeah, you definitely, if you haven't played Baldur's Gate 3, go play it and take the path where you get to fight him. You will be rewarded. It's a thoroughly enjoyable fight.
I did not know about this one.
Yep.
All right. I mean, so
Somebody else go.
Have any of y'all ever played 2018 God of War?
No.
No.
I have not.
Okay, I'm not an expert on this, so I don't know that I'll be able to have a good discussion on it, but I felt like I at least had to bring up where is the video? There it is. The Valkyries. They're optional bosses. You beat each of them and unlock stuff. It's, you know, standard optional boss fare, but man, they're just scary. Basically, the Valkyries have been cursed, and you have to defeat them to free each of them, and so it's a series of optional bosses within the game.
Interesting.
Okay.
Do they
Sounds
do
also
they
very
fight differently?
horrifying.
Each one fights a little bit differently, you know, and it's God of War 2018 is a Souls light type game, so it's not like a full Souls like, but it's, you know, the same sort of thing, and so they can get kind of punishing. It's the kind of fight that you're supposed to go in, lose a few times before you figure out how to actually beat them.
Interesting.
Well, speaking of a Souls light, Mithril,
Sure. It was being brought up in chat. I figured, I guess I have to mention it.
you definitely do, because I need someone to.
Dark Souls games, and I will put up Elden Ring in this as well. are known for having difficult bosses, and in particular, the bosses that are not on the main story path are known for being, some of them, very difficult. I've been trying to think of any from Dark Souls 1. I can't necessarily think of, unless you include the DLC, in which Calamite technically is one. Dark Souls 3, there's the Forgotten King, or Nameless King, or Forgotten King? Nameless King, I think it
Nameless.
is. Which is in a total side area that's not required at all for completion. And Elden Ring, as may be well known, is Malenia, Blade of Mikola. This person is doing a level 1 damageless run through it, so
Which is amazing.
wait, is this also only parries? Might be. But one of those bosses that is infamously of like, you will try and you will fail, 40, 50 plus times, very constantly. And it's exceedingly what Dark Souls does, especially the later ones, 3 and Elden Ring, is that early game, they'll kind of like, you'll get your footing under you, you'll start learning how weapons work and how the animation system and whatnot works in order to take advantage of that. You'll have some bosses like on the main story progression that will basically test those skills and whatnot. And then you'll have bosses out to the sides that are just like, okay, if you really want to see if you know your stuff, fight these bosses. And Malenia was fairly infamous, at least on launch of Elden Ring, as being this incredibly difficult and notorious boss that only a few people had truly mastered, but then those few people were able to, through use of the was it still a soapstone? I forget. Like the multiplayer features, go in and like basically defeat the boss for other players, because you could like recruit other players into your game in order for assistance.
I don't know what it's called.
Yeah, I forget if it's I think it's like a golden finger or something like that. Furled finger in Elden Ring. Yeah. Yes. So Viridian Frost is bringing up in chat one such player who has killed the boss hundreds of times. I don't remember, called Let Me Solo Her, which is someone who just has 2 katanas and I think a bucket or a pot over his head and nothing else was their outfit of choice.
That's
became,
quite the bold fashion statement there.
And became, well, yeah, but it's like like, sure, someone who comes in with like full armor and whatever, it's like, okay, you might not remember, but someone 2 katanas and just like a pot helmet, and that's it. Name Let Me Solo Her, and every time without fail just finishes the boss for you. That is a legend right there.
Yeah.
So that is a player becoming an in-game legend, because this optional boss, was so difficult that so many players were just like, I give up. Can I get some help on this?
And then a hero stood up.
Mm-hmm.
And he said,
and
no,
put a bucket on his head.
Yep.
The Ballad
Sure
of
did.
Buckethead.
Like, I will say, in Dark Souls 3, the only boss that I guess I won't say unable to, but that I never did kill fully solo, was the Nameless King, because it just is, it is just one of those boss fights where you mess up once and you're just dead. There's very little room for recovery, and Malenia is definitely the same way.
Very unforgiving.
Mm-hmm.
No, I mean, that's sort of famous in the Dark Souls in general, but yeah, it's very similar. Like Hades does the similar thing where it's like, no, you're going to bang your head against this. This is not a bug; it's a feature.
Yeah.
Which is
I have some more to bring up, but if someone else wants to jump in and alternate off.
It's more I'm just sort of amazed that we sort of, as humans, just do like the idea of, no, this is a bug. This isn't a bug, it's a feature with pain. We do it with spicy foods. We do it with video games.
Well, yeah. Well, I think of one of like the original ones. I feel like this, before Dark Souls was a thing, but the optional bosses in like the first two Kingdom Hearts games, where they had that level of punishment that you're just gonna bang your head several times.
Well, and to respond to what Splice just said, it's not the pain that we go for; it's the success after the pain.
Yes.
The mastery, that feeling of accomplishment and mastery, and I mean, I do think there is something innate in us saying that we want to be able to overcome and do hard things, and being able to prove to ourselves and others that we can do it is
we're more along
real
for the
value in
ride.
that.
It's sort of like how okay, for an opposite example, you know how if you brush your teeth and then you drink orange juice, it tastes absolutely foul.
Yes. It's a
No.
horrible
But like if you drink,
I mean,
like,
I'll take your word for it, but no, I don't know that.
oh gosh, never do it. But if you've like eaten a pickle or drunk lemon juice or something like that, and then you eat something sweet, it tastes so sweet and amazing. And that's kind of what we're doing, is like we're building up so that I mean, for pardon the pun, sweet release, like
Hey.
it's so it's so much more satisfying.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, for me, one of the super bosses that I did just bang my head until I got that sweet release was the Sephiroth fights, but even before the Sephiroth, you have to defeat the Ice Titan in the first one in the Colosseum. And thing is once I actually was able to do it, like the especially the Ice Titan, it's like it becomes fun to do it again, like to see something that you struggled so hard with that now you can, like, with very little effort, just completely annihilate.
Villain decay.
And it's just like, man, this was so hard like a week ago, and now here I am. I can just wreck this thing, especially the Ice Titan or, Sephiroth. Like, you get the patterns down, because no matter how punishing they are, once you know what you're doing, you can just wreck them, and it feels so satisfying to do.
Yeah, like I've mentioned, I watch randomizers, like Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past randomizers and Super Metroid randomizers and stuff. And the people who play those have the game down so specifically that they're able to beat these bosses that I remember just like normal bosses, not optional bosses, that I remember beating my head against a wall trying to beat. And they do it in like seconds.
But for them, it's only Tuesday.
While they're having a conversation with chat. And, it's just like, wow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what you're saying of Looney, of the whole, the thing you're beating your head against for, hours, days, weeks, whatever, and then you come back to later and just like you're basically farming it and just so satisfying. That, in my experience, is a huge part of the core engagement loop of Monster Hunter. Is that you get beaten up by these monsters, but then you learn their patterns, you learn their tells, and then you become the hunter, and then by the time you're farming them for parts and materials, you are going out of your way, just being like, nope, I got this. You have the confidence, you have the skill, and then
you got the touch
every once in a while.
And you have the levels.
Well, there's no levels in Monster Hunter. It's
Monster Hunter is okay.
Yeah.
Well, you have the gear then. I mean, the gear and levels are essentially the same thing.
Yeah,
yeah. There's you're progressing, and there's some sort of progression that is happening.
Yeah, but even then, it's like you can hit. Oftentimes, a lot of Monster Hunters will have some degree of like endless scaling, or maybe not endless scaling, but like very high scaling, where you can't necessarily outgear that per se, but you'll have your gear that has the skills you like, and you'll figure out how to activate all of your attack buffs and whatnot for for all of this defense and whatnot. But
Right.
yeah, which I guess brings that interesting question though with Monster Hunter is like, okay, well, what in a game like that, what bosses count as optional? Because like you have to fight everything once, but if you want to collect gear from it, then you have to go out of your way to fight these
Yeah.
enemies, these I guess bosses multiple times. Does that count as optional?
Yeah, that's
See,
almost
and
a whole question, and another question in itself is like repeatable bosses.
Yeah.
Yeah, like
Especially for
at that
farming
point
materials. Yeah.
like at that point, like not to split hairs or anything like that, but at that point, it's the question of you have to fight everything, so nothing's optional
Mhm.
until you beat it, and then it's optional.
Well, I mean, goodness, the Xenoblade games, all of them have unique enemies that drop unique materials. That if you want to build stuff, get certain items, it requires you to farm them, and they're
If we want to
repeatable.
talk about Xenoblade,
Don't talk to me about farming. I started playing Satisfactory, and
video unre. Oh, come on.
I'm dreaming about it now, and it's a problem.
Oh,
Sorry,
was that Xenoblade there? Yeah. Oh,
Yes, it was supposed to. I didn't realize it was going to be unplayable
Oh,
over this.
I
Because
didn't even realize you'd put a Xenoblade one in there. But yeah,
because I have thoughts, especially for Xenoblade 1.
yeah.
The optional bosses in Xenoblade 1 made me hate the combat system so much I never wanted to play the game again.
Immovable Gonzalez.
So
Oh, there's tons of them. There's tons of
I
unique
need to have
monsters.
words with whoever invented tension.
Is that like Speedy's lethargic cousin?
No,
Is
that's
it giant
Slowpoke
level?
Rodriguez.
It's a giant monkey that's level,
One sec, let me
max
try to
level
find
super
it.
boss. Yeah.
I mean, technically, this isn't the one I was thinking of because, like,
Actually
the
really like
late game
the-
super bosses, but
I actually really like the combat system in Xenoblade, but yeah, some of those super bosses are rough.
let me try this one and see if that plays.
It's playing.
Okay, so Xenoblade. Okay, it's not necessarily the time for the rant about tension, but the way that bosses work I guess the way that combat works in Xenoblade 1 in particular is that if you are a lower level than the enemy, you will have a penalty to hit. Like you'll have a lower hit chance.
Okay.
And there's a system called tension where if you miss, you will lose tension. Tension is meant to be a like party morale system. Like if you're feeling good about the fight, then you have high tension and you're hitting more, you're critting more. If you're feeling bad about the fight, like you're getting knocked out or you're missing a lot of attacks, you'll have low tension, which means you're missing even more, or you're, doing ineffective hits, you're taking more damage. I forget exactly what it does, but basically the problem with tension and the level difference system is that, okay, if you're a lower level, then you're less likely to hit. And then if you miss once, you lose tension, which means you're going to miss again. And so you have to go out of your way to stack so much agility or dexterity or whatever it was that increases your accuracy, or solely use ether type damage that doesn't roll on accuracy, or you just physically cannot hit these bosses at all.
That's not ideal.
And
Well-
it changes. Hey, you can do it, but if you miss one time, then it just changes and cascades into a failure state. And this is also just me not having a perfect mastery of the combat system, I'm sure. But it was frustrating enough to me that I gave up trying to fight these super bosses and was just like, you know what? I'm just going to finish the game and then put it down.
I mean, I feel like I did everything, but I don't think I defeated every single super boss in this game. But at the same time, I think it's partially build dependent. There's a reason why,
It definitely is.
like when I chose to go with Dunban for my tank, right? And the thing is he's a dodge tank, which I think is actually the same attribute that's used for your accuracy.
Mhm.
So I think if you're specking for agility, then you're doing it not just to hit, but also to dodge. But I can see why that'd be an issue if you were specking otherwise. Because yeah, no, that's a fair criticism, and I do feel like I don't know. Honestly, I think that the combat system in Xenoblade Chronicles X is actually pretty good about solving some of the shortcomings of Xenoblade One.
I
Though
will say
I have
didn't.
serious issues with the combat of Xenoblade 2, but yeah, that's a different topic.
Yeah, I was gonna say I didn't have that many issues with 2, aside from early game being really like not a lot to
boring
do.
and rough. Gosh, yeah.
Early game there was not a
we'll
lot to
get-
do, and your party was not great.
Oh, I have a whole
Um,
rant about, okay, so you're a flanker like in the first game, except you don't have a tank to flank with for like the first 10 hours of the game. For Pete's sake, what the heck? Oh my gosh. Oh my
Oh.
gosh.
But my opinion is that Xenoblade 1 starts better, but Xenoblade 2 ends better in terms of combat system. But that also, it's just me, I guess. 3 manages to have good from both worlds, in my opinion. But anyway, I'm trying to remember if I did the optional bosses in 3. I know I did all of them in 2. I didn't do the golden monsters in Torna, 2's DLC. And then I don't think I did all of them in 3 either, because
There's a
that
ton
game
of them.
has way too much to do.
Yeah,
Right.
this is one of those huge blind spots for me.
Mhm.
Xenoblade.
I wish I could remember the name, because there was one encounter in 3 that I did that took me like a dozen attempts, where it's like a bunch of level 90 like sirens and you're in the water, and so you have to manage like trying to attack while you're standing on these little islands, or while you're in the water, because if you move then you start swimming and then you lose attacks or something. And it's like everything's fine, and then it does this one move that
And
I
that's
forget if
not.
it buffed or it resurrected or if it debuffed you and put you in like a stun state or a berserk state or something. But either way, Xenoblade is a game that very much cares about its small tweaks, its small advantages, and its status conditions. And if you get the wrong status condition for 1 second at the wrong time, the entire fight that you've been fighting, maybe for several minutes, can just collapse in an instant.
That's hardly
I didn't
ideal.
put this up there, but for some reason that reminds me of Adamentos from Final Fantasy 15, aka Final Fantasy Bro Trip. The huge mountain. The huge mountain that's a dragon that basically you have to spend. I've heard of people like spending upwards of hours trying to defeat this thing.
I have. Well, the first video on the boss on this that just says it's the boss fight is 45 minutes long.
Fun stuff.
Jeez.
I can
That's
add that here
That's
if
meaty.
you wanted to.
That is very meaty.
I mean, that's dedication.
It's definitely dedication. No one can argue that point.
Right.
They might be
What
able to
else
argue
aside
if
from
that's
video
wise, but
Where else aside from video games would you see a literal mountain? You're like, I can fight that.
Yeah, exactly. Like
Anime, that's about it.
yeah, that was literally what
Like,
I was going to say the same
Like,
thing.
it happens in Shield Hero. In fact, it looks like Shield Hero right here.
The only reason why, because I remember watching a hilarious video from Woke Culture where one of the presenters talks about their going up against a Mantorse or whatever it's called, talking about it can't really hurt you, can't really do anything. You just spend minutes upon minutes, which bleed into hours, and then it does a spin attack, and it knocked me out of combat. And the 45 minutes in which I had just spent were gone because he had regenerated the
Out of
moment I was out
combat
of
regen.
Oh.
Oof.
It is frustrating when you don't die. They just knock you out and then regenerate their health. It's like, no, not cool.
Exactly. It's like, oh, but like you should have just killed me at that point. I would have felt better.
Yeah.
Time to
No,
scratch its toenail.
until it dies.
What the heck is this?
It's like they're ants compared to this thing. My goodness.
It's like
Yeah,
there's
this
those
is
boss fights, and then is this the modern Yazmat? Is that what this is supposed to be?
well, it's funny you should mention that.
I was gonna say, are you familiar with Yazmat from
I'm not, but I swear I saw it on the
12?
list and I was going to click on it. Maybe
I wanna say
not.
it's 12, I think it is.
I swear we had it
The
on this
boss
list.
with like 45 million HP or whatever it is.
Amateur hour compared to one of them I have on this list.
Okay, was it 45? How many million HP did Yazmat have?
What's the one you have?
12.
Well, I threw in some Disgaea optional bosses.
Grab
That's
it.
it.
Well, the thing about Disgaea is that you can deal billions of damage yourself.
Yes.
In FF12, you can't.
So in Disgaea, well, let's work our way up. So there's a series of optional boss battles, and two of these are ones that, I actually got far enough to get these, and they are actually references to earlier NIS games. So this one, it's Priere, and she's the main character from La Pucelle Tactics, which came before Disgaea. And when you defeat her as a super boss, she actually joins your party. So it's actually pretty cool with some of these bonus bosses, because having them join your party, like someone that's like super strong, hard to take out, and then once you take them out, they join your party,
Now,
which is pretty nice.
hold on. So I'm not really familiar with tactical games that have these
Well, that reminds
boss
me.
battles or optional boss battles. So this is just sort of a new thing for me.
So Disgaea is designed around the concept of most battles are optional. So the final boss of like the story, like the actual, campaign story of Disgaea is level 70. So you only need level 70 to beat the game. But the optional bosses, they range around level 2000 to 9999. And you can go up to level 9999 and then reset your character back to level 1, but have a higher stat gain with every level up. So then you can get back
You
up
prestige.
to level, you prestige and get back to level 9999, but be much stronger than you were previously. Like that's kind of the way this game is designed. So the majority of the game is optional. It's mostly after the game. And so, yeah, this one's Priere, a reference to another of their games. Joins your party. And then after Priere, you go back and you keep going into these optional places, and you can get Marjolie, who was the villain in another game on the PS1 that was called Rhapsody. Rhapsody Musical Adventure. And if you defeat her, she'll also join your party. Skip ahead really quick, but she's, some evil mage. And then after that, and I didn't even get far enough into Disgaea, despite I don't know how much time I put into this game. There is the Uber Prinny Ball, which is the ultimate boss in every Disgaea game. So
Did you
the
say Prinny Ball?
Yes, it's Prinny. It's a Prinny, but it's Bale. Prinny
Gotcha.
Bale.
Oh, sorry. I was thinking like like a sphere made out of only Prinnies.
No, as in the Sumerian
pretty cool.
god of evil.
Yeah.
The Uber Prinny Bale. And I guess in this one it's
5,700,000 HP. It's fine.
It's fine. And I do think in later games they went with way more than even that, than just the millions. But I never did it because it requires to go into an item world of like a max rarity level 100, max rarity ultimate tier item, and get all the way to level 100 in there, and then it'll be the final boss of that item world. And even I didn't put in enough time to get to ultimate Prinny Veil.
I've got to be right back.
Man,
But you notice that this one they have the other optional bosses in their party and are utilizing him for this fight.
that's the end of Batman Begins. Aren't you worried about escalation?
It's the whole they joined my party and now I'm using them to fight this one.
Totally cool.
Oh, I also noticed this. Okay, this is clearly the PC version, considering it's got Disgaea 2 cameo characters in their party as well.
Well, we don't have a lot of time left.
I have like one quick one to throw out here.
All right.
I have a
Just a quick one, because hold on, let me get back to the screen here. Where are you? There you are. So again, in the
Oh.
well, I'll put something. I'll put Baldur's Gate back on. So
That is the closest.
with the modern day RPG. A lot of things are optional, but like with Cyberpunk, which I'm sorry you guys aren't seeing Cyberpunk right now. Blame Splice. But there's a lot of optional bosses. Almost everything that isn't the main story, and really parts of the main story, are kind of optional. But there's one thread, which is where you have to go out and you have to deal with the cyber psychos. Because in the world of Cyberpunk, as you gain more cybernetic parts in your body, you become susceptible to something that's called cyber psychosis, which is you just losing touch with your humanity and just losing your mind and going crazy. And in the game, there is somebody who is trying to basically deal with this and will give you extra money if you can deal with it in such a way that they are not dead at the end of the battle, which is incredibly difficult because they are absolutely trying to kill you. It's something like 23 fights or something like that, which can range across the various acts and stuff like that. They trigger when you get close to them. Your contact calls you and lets you know. But, I mean, you don't have to do them. And it's an interesting, like, quest line where it's nothing but boss battles. And, like, none of them are just, like, rando, just do what you can. Like, even if you're like, very specifically going through a path, like you're net hacking, they will learn, and they will counter you later on. So, your tricks don't work twice.
Interesting. So it forces you to diversify.
It makes me think of that one Mr. Freeze fight in Arkham
Mhm.
City.
Like some of them will absolutely just like wreck you if you try and hack them. So you have to engage them in combat. So if you're going to engage them in combat, then you have to engage them in combat in such a way that is more or less that's more or less like non-lethal at the end of it. So it's an interesting plot string. Yeah, I wanted to throw it out there. They count as optional bosses.
All right. Looney, was
So,
there...
That's all I
All
got.
right. Yeah, there's a couple quick ones I was saving for the end, and it's the creator self-inserts.
Oh, I did want to point out real fast before you go. Speaking of tactical optional bosses, technically in Final Fantasy Tactics, you don't have to get Sid. He's an optional boss, and you get him for defeating him. You have to go off the path to get him.
Oh, really? I thought that was required. He is wicked awesome in your party. He's by far the strongest character. But
I mean, he is absolutely wicked awesome, but he is not a required. He is 100% optional.
What is this circle around this character?
oh, it's one of his one of the abilities you get, and it lets you see like if there's a breakable wall.
Gotcha.
If a wall's in that circle, you can see that it's breakable. But anyways, this is one of my favorite Castlevania games that's not Castlevania, Bloodstained Ritual of the Night, though it is made by the creator of the Metroidvania Castlevanias that left Konami and wanted to make his own game, and that's this one. And there is him himself dressed up as Dracula, fighting very much the same way as Dracula would fight. But that is Iga, the creator of the game.
Nice.
And you get to fight him as an optional bonus boss.
Hmm.
He's not that hard, really, but it is kind of fun to fight the creator. And that's not the... There's one other game that I know of. I've actually played this one. The other one I haven't played, but I'm familiar with. And that's in Nier Automata. You can fight the CEO of Square Enix as a final, like, optional super boss.
Okay.
That's it.
I thought it was going to be like the Nier creator because he's kind of an out there figure.
Well, I mean, you'd be fighting... Well, isn't that what Majora's Mask is?
All really kind of out there. Like,
but yes,
I mean,
especially this one, because I mean, at least Iga, he's acting like Dracula, whereas this guy, he just descends down. I'm the CEO of Square Enix. My name is, what was it? Something Matsuda or something?
Matsuda.
Matsuda, and it's just like he fights by shooting his head, like glowing copies of his head out on you.
What in the
warning
Kojima
CEO.
is this?
I know this looks totally Kojima. It's ridiculous, but it's kind of, I don't know, it's kind of fun. Oh,
Is
and
that why in the Nier raid, the end of the Nier raid, the final boss in Final Fantasy
and then the
14,
president
it throws the
CEO of
Square
Platinum
Enix building at
Games.
you?
Probably. You've learned something.
don't get the Squeenix, you guys.
Yeah.
Don't get
Yeah,
the
for those who aren't aware, the raid series in or the not raid, what's it called?
The 24-man Alliance raid.
Alliance raid. I was like, what's the word? But in Shadowbringers is based on Nier Automata.
Oh, really? Okay.
Is that how you get the 2B thigh highs?
Yes,
Yes.
yes, it is.
I only know that
Okay.
as a joke.
Which is interesting because, I mean, you said it's just one area, or is it the whole expansion is based off of
Well, no, it's
it's
just
a-
the whole raid series.
the whole raid
Yeah, it's
series?
a raid series. So it's 3 different raids, which are like, for the Alliance raids, it's 24 people go in, and you have like a series of like 6
One comes out. No, it's
bosses, or I guess like 3 or 4 bosses, and then 2 or 3 like quote trash mob packs between.
right.
And are any of the bosses the CEOs of the game? Like this? Probably not.
Not to this degree.
Yeah, so
but
CEO of Square Enix
Yeah.
and the CEO of Platinum Games are
Like,
the
well, and
optional
it's
boss.
it's the fact that it's like it's not a lookalike. It's literally they come down, they say, "I am the CEO of Square. I am the CEO of Platinum Games."
Yeah, because I
Yeah,
mean
which
that's the
is-
thing.
it's absurd.
Iga showing up dressed up as a vampire is, you know, that's totally on brand for Iga and for the game, and it's not that weird, you know, because he fits the setting. Whereas this, yeah, it's like, wait, this is totally breaking the fourth wall in every way possible.
yeah.
All right. Well, there's one more I want to talk about before we wrap up for the night. And so there's something that I think is really cool you can do with these optional bosses. And that is progress a storyline that maybe didn't exist in your game. And the best example of this is in Pokemon Gold. At the end of the game, if you go up to the mountain, you face someone who isn't talking. I remember this. I'm like, who is this? And then it's the
one.
protagonist of the last game. And it's like, that's me. Now, his team makeup sucks. So he's actually not that difficult to fight outside of the fact his Pokemon are just way higher level than everyone else's.
Well, and if I remember, in Kanto, they didn't like increase the level of Pokemon around there, so leveling up your Pokemon to his level is just a pain in the butt.
Could
Gen
be.
2 level curves are another discussion altogether.
But no, this was so cool. Like when I saw this, because even though he literally says nothing, it's actually quite a brilliant thing because it tells you something about the world you're in. That these, like, yes, you're in Kanto, and it's not just you're in Kanto. It's that your character from the first game kept going on adventures. He kept leveling up. He's kept trying to be the very best. And you have a chance to fight him. And it makes it such that the world feels far more cohesive than it would otherwise.
And whether
And
you win or lose, you still won.
yeah. And then the fact that also that the Gen 1 Elite 4 music plays when you face him. And so that's the other thing, is that it's different music.
Yeah,
That's
the
nice.
Gen 1 champion theme. Yeah.
Champion theme, that's what it's called.
Mhm.
And it's brilliant, and it's just one of those things that you don't need fancy animations, you don't need bouncing heads. You just need a good concept for an optional boss, and you can really add to your game. It's pretty awesome. But anyway, this has been a great episode. Next week is going to be a very interesting episode because none of us know what it's going to be about because, well, it's going to be about the Switch 2 release because that'll be happening the day of.
Yes.
Which,
That's
Switch
Switch 2?
June, huh?
yeah, that's going to be on the 2nd. And so it's just going to be us just reacting to it.
Getting one?
What?
Is anyone here getting one?
I mean, I'm
I
planning
probably
on it.
will.
Like on release day?
I'm
Probably.
hoping
I don't
to.
Depends upon, of course, whatever they
Depends on what insanity comes.
What games are on it, what the price is, what my budget is. I mean,
Have they not told anyone what the price is?
no,
Or are they
that,
just announcing it
that's
next week?
that's literally
Like
what
they-
it is.
Okay, all right. I misunderstood. I thought like it was like coming out next week, and I was
no,
like,
No.
That's
yeah,
gonna
that's
be
what
like-
that's what I thought when you were saying that. And I was like,
Yeah,
that seems.
Well,
I was gonna
you
say
meant
that,
the
like,
trailer's coming out. Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
We
that
got
makes-
we got an announcement of an announcement.
Yes.
okay. All right. So
Well,
that's-
the weird thing is we're having a
Cool.
direct tomorrow.
Which is not Switch 2 related. It's
Yeah,
Switch
it-
1 games. It's the end of life Switch 1 direct tomorrow.
It's
Is
the
that-
pre-switch
is that-
switch.
is that what it's literally like billed as?
Well-
It's just a Nintendo Direct.
They said it's a
Okay.
Nintendo Direct that they're not going to talk about Switch 2. They're going to talk about Switch 1 games still coming out.
I have a feeling it'll be a lot of third-party developers. But the thing is, with the Switch
Yeah.
2, because it'll be backwards compatible, it kind of doesn't matter.
It matters a little bit.
Yeah. Well, especially there's been some rumors about people looking at some of the later Switch games Nintendo developed, and there's some zombie code in there they're fairly certain is for when the Switch 2 comes out, that it'll be able to do more with the game.
Interesting.
And so,
Interesting.
yeah. Anyway,
I
so that'll be
guess-
our
I
topic
guess we'll
next
see.
week. So that should be fun. Yeah, if you're interested in the direct, that starts at 7 a.m. Pacific, which is 10 a.m. Eastern. All right. Everyone here, we're having a great time. Baggins, do you want to promote something first?
I honestly can't think of anything to promote
Indeed. Why is that?
because 6 has gone into extended hiatus. The Sandersonian Institute of Cosmere Studies. You can still check out our backlog. We've got a huge backlog of 184 episodes plus a couple of bonus things thrown in there. So check that out if you want. YouTube.com/Cosmere Studies.
Yeah, your promotions from here on out are mostly going to be you stamping things.
I guess so.
That's okay. You're good at
I-
stamping
and
things.
I'm good at stamping things, but I don't hand out my stamps easy.
No, you do not. Comedy site, do you want to promote anything?
Sure do. Same thing I promote every week. I'll promote Karina J's fantastic story on Tapas, Entangled Enemies. Go ahead and check it out. I have placed the link to it in the self-promotion section of the Splice stream. Also, my researchers are telling me that, in fact, that they cannot disprove that Splice is a smooth cheese. So there you go.
And what's the name of your researchers?
Oh, there's Joey Numbers over there, and there's hyphenated last name.
Okay.
That is over there. I don't
Okay.
think
It's
it works
peanut
here.
butter and jelly.
Yeah,
Lunisar,
peanut butter and jelly.
just
I
power
can
through this
disprove
man.
it.
Anyway, Lunisar, go.
I will promote Lizzie's stream, Lizzie Petrichor on Twitch, where she does shiny hunting. She has been trying to get a Rattata, getting very frustrated at it. But she's also been trying to get a shiny Regice as well. And I guess if I could promote something else, I guess I'll just do a general promotion of the Godot open source game engine. It's good stuff. Learn it. It's free.
Do we need to go take a crowbar to some Rattatatas? Like, I've got a crowbar. We'll travel.
Oh, she's trying to get an Alolan Rattata, so she has to catch a bajillion Rattatas and then trade an NPC to get the Alolan version and hope the Alolan one comes back.
So it's tedious.
Shiny. Yes.
I do
Well-
not understand Pokemons at all.
Splice, I do have a stamp to hand out.
Oh,
Konami actually did something right. The Suikoden 1 and 2 remaster came out a couple weeks ago, and it is wonderful. Definitely go
good?
check it out. Yes.
Good.
It's it's my favorite game of all time, and they did it justice.
Speaking
And
of,
by saying they did it justice, I mean they changed almost nothing.
Huzzah!
Nice.
As you should.
that actually reminds me, Xenoblade Chronicles X finally got a Switch release just this last week.
So Splice, are you going to promote anything?
no, because Mithril is.
I would promote my channel, but I don't have anything new since last week. So instead, I will promote StarCraft Brood War Pro Scene. ASL Season 19 just started. They have English casters. Look up. It's on Soup Esports EN. That's SOOP Esports EN for English. They do a good job. They have translations of all the interviews and everything. It's real fun, real quality. I didn't know people could be this good at a game that is approaching 30 years old, but here we are.
I mean, if there's anyone who's going to do it, it's the RTS scene.
Mm-hmm.
Which game did you say again?
StarCraft Brood War.
Brood War.
ASL Season 19. Sorry, what?
Brood War is Brood War still the king of esports?
Always will be in my heart, if nothing else.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
It's come back as the king of esports.
Yeah,
It
StarCraft
never-
2 never really got replaced Brood War. Never really did.
StarCraft 2 replaced Brood War in the West, but in Korea, in South Korea, Brood War's always been number one.
That
Yeah.
said, Splice and I saw some pretty amazing StarCraft 2 gaming at
Yeah.
BlizzCon several years back.
Mm-hmm.
We were there for the championship.
At
Oh, was
peak,
that the one that
at peak Blizzard.
Jaedong won? Or
no,
not
it
won,
was
but-
It was a Scandinavian guy.
no, it's the
Cyril?
Finnish. Who's the Finnish? Cyril, right?
Was that his first BlizzCon?
It wasn't his first. I'm trying to remember who.
Was that the BlizzCon, the infamous "Don't you guys have cell phones"?
Yes,
Yes,
it was.
we were. That's
We
why.
were there.
That's why I
We've
call. We
talked
were.
about
We
this
saw
several
peak
times.
Blizzard.
Oh.
Who was that? It was the point. It was the biggest thing because no one had ever won, the BlizzCon World Championships. Who wasn't? Yeah, it was Cyril.
Yeah,
who
Cyril.
wasn't Korean.
Mhm.
It had never happened, and it was awesome because he won the first 3 sets, and it looked like he was just going to crush. And then, Stats was able to come back and win the next 2
Right.
games, and it looked like Stats had figured out this little window in his build. And then Cyril in game 6 was able to weather the storm, and as soon as he got through it, and it was by the skin of his teeth, he was able to weather it, and then he just was able to roll through, because StarCraft is all about those little tiny windows of where you have an advantage and can you execute on it.
And I'm telling you, they were playing a different game than I've ever played.
Oh yeah.
Oh, by
Oh,
far.
yeah.
No,
Yeah.
it's a very
No
different
doubt.
game at their level.
If
Where
you've never watched like pro level RTS gameplay, check out one like an English cast, whatever. It can be overwhelming at first, but
the casters are really good at
something
explaining things.
Yeah.
yeah.
Tasteless and Artosis particularly did a good job.
Mhm.
They were the ones who were casting when we were there, and it was they're phenomenal. They've got a great chemistry too. So
And yeah, they're still casting ASL season 19,
I believe it.
which just started.
All right. And then you all can find me twitch.tv/splicestream. You can also find me here in the normal stuff, but there's I'm looking forward to next episode. It's going to be very interesting. We haven't had a console release since we've started this, and I just want to point out there's something pretty interesting. Now we have one episode. If you listen to one episode a week, we've completed a full year.
Wait, does that mean we've been recording this for a year?
Over a year, because we had to skip a couple weeks during Christmas.
Have we really?
Yep.
Yes, we have.
I have a hard time believing that. But
I think it
That's-
was just a couple months ago.
Time flies when you're having
That's
fun.
Crazy. I didn't realize we started this so long ago. Wow. Man, you know what that means is I think we overleveled.